When you ask people what's the worst map in Enlisted, this usually comes up. Hey guys, JR here, and in this video I'm going to be talking about Airfield. Now, for many people, this is the worst map in Enlisted. I am one of those people. Now, Airfield is a pretty bad map, so I'm just going to talk about Airfield and why it's bad, really, more to the point. So, I'll be talking about Airfield, its history, and more or less what happened with the map. And more, of course, why it's bad. So let's start with the history of Airfield. Airfield came out as the first ever non-release map for Normandy. It was released alongside the Berlin update, and basically was the first map added to Normandy since launch. Now remember, at launch, Normandy only had three invasion maps, 6 conquest maps, and an assault map. The invasion maps were Ruins of Valks, D-Day, and Le Bris. Now, obviously, and out of all of them, only Le Bris is really that good. Ruins of Valks is either spawn trap central or get slam pushed central, and D-Day sucks. So it really didn't have much competition other than Le Bris. And when it came out, it was widely hated because, well, not really many people liked it. It was an Axis-only attack map, and this was before... It was an Allies-only attack map, and this was before the update which made Le Bris Axis defend as well. So at this point, really, there was only one Allies defense map, and the rest were Axis attack map with the Axis defend maps, and this was no exception. Kind of like Berlin, but I don't know. Berlin at least has gotten somewhat better over time, and Normandy as well has gotten better. But yeah, it was released then. It was one of the maps that received alternative paths, and was actually one of the more. It was a map that really did get a lot of alternative pathways with it. And recently it's received a version where the Axis attack, and has received a few more, some quality of life. Now, the important thing about Airfield was it was the first and currently only map to feature secondary objectives, which was one of the big selling points of the map. So essentially, I'll talk about that when I talk about the secondary objectives and why they're bad in a little bit. That being said, how does the map stack up? How's it designed? And then we'll talk about why it's hated. To the surprise of absolutely no one, Airfield takes place on an airfield. Yeah, generally not surprising with this one. So, for 80% of the map, you're going to be on an airstrip and in hangars. You're fighting through big hangars, support buildings, a bunker at the back, and some more hangars. Now, obviously, in terms of design, there's a big fuck-off airstrip in the middle of the map. And this is where most of the hate comes from for Airfield. The map just has... The airstrip, in general, is a big hated part of the map. Because, well, who likes going across it? No one does. And this is one of the big problems with Airfield. It's way too open. The map design, even in the points, are way too open. Most of the points are mid to long range engagements, with only really the second and fourth points, which are in the second points being in either some warehouses, being in a group of warehouses, and the fourth point is always in the bunker. Only those 4 points have actual close range capability. The first point, third point, and fifth point are all in aircraft hangars, and all 5 of them, and all 3 of those points, are pretty much just aircraft. Now, I said all 5 because it does rotate around between the hangars, but all 5 of the hangars are very large, very open, and there's not really much. There's also one real problem with the design, which is the lack of cover. Now, if you don't know, Airfield really does lack cover on the attacks of the point, which is one of the main problems with it. Attackers will be basically charging the defenders, who often have a height advantage, while they have no cover. Now this does go both ways, as if the attackers take the point, start capping up the point, it's really difficult for the defenders to get to the point again. But, well, the exception being, ironically, the first point, where the defenders have an entire hangar in very close proximity to the cap point, and they can easily just go straight through to the hangar and essentially, you know, reinforce quite easily. Whereas the Allies have to go, when they have to cross a good 30-40 metres straight with a trench in the middle. Now, this might not sound bad, oh, you got a trench. Here's the problem. That trench doesn't really work because of the height advantage. Again, the enemies are going to be 2-3 stories up, so above you, so you're going to get sniped, even in the trench. Not to mention, of course, the enemies are going to be pushing into that trench line, so you're going to get boned either way. And we haven't even talked about the elephant in the room, which is the big airstrip, which, again, is an airstrip. So, what's not on airstrip? Cover. You're going to basically have no cover throughout the entirety of the match. In fact, it's very hard to find a point where there's legitimate cover. The second points do have some cover around them, but they're not that good, really. In fact, I would argue that really the only alternative is maybe there's the building on the left side, on the right side of the hangar in the first point could count, but then you're still crossing into a sight line. And also, that's where the enemy tanks spawn in. So you're going to be literally in eyes length of enemy tank, of the defenders' tankers. Which leads me to another point, which I'll talk about in a second. The map really does focus on tank play, and really, I've said it multiple times, the team with the best vehicle crews, so the best tankers and the best pilots, end up winning this match because of, well, two things. The best tankers win because this map is very heavily focused on tankers. I would argue this is probably one of the best maps to play tank on because, well, you generally there's a lot of spots in the map where both sides can overlook the other side's spawn with relative protection. Most notably, there's a site the defenders openly concede the attackers' spawn where the attackers can't see the defenders. There's also the of course the hangars, of course, opting for cover, and even in the airstrip, really the only cover that you get is destroyed vehicles. So, yeah, this thing is a tanker's paradise. And then we have the aircraft. Now, the aircraft, really, their problem is that the secondary objective is pretty much devoted on aircraft. Now, tankers can engage the balloons as well, which are the barrage balloons are the secondary objective. But most people just don't bother with that. In fact, pilots are going to use, are going to be better suited for this, whether it be attacker or bomber aircraft. As well as that, due to how open the map is, P-38, P-47s, 188s, even BF-110 and 410s, which aren't that good at bombing, usually, can get some very easy, cheap multi-kills with this map. And it's generally just, it's a pain in the arse when you're constantly getting hit by aircraft on this map. Like, literally, this map is one of the easiest in terms of aircraft play, and even in terms of tank play. It's very easy, and honestly, I've said it before, I've been saying this for about a year now. The team that has the better tankers on this map, and can keep those better tankers alive and in their tanks, will win the match. So, I've addressed all the problems. Are there any good things about Airfield? Honestly, there are, actually. It's the only map, like I said, with secondary objectives, and honestly, that makes it unique. The bunker's fine to attack. when you're in the bunker. And I will say that the second points are actually the best points in this map. But the problem is the design really is more reminiscent of Moscow and Tunisia than it is of Normandy. I reckon if Airfield was, you give it a snow look and you throw it into Moscow, 90% of the hate for this map will go away, because Moscow doesn't have, for the most part, doesn't have as many, you know, destructive tanks or aircraft as Normandy. So you're not going to be death from above or death from a tank every 5 seconds. That being said, though, it does have some decent... It is half decent, and, you know, honestly, it's not the worst map in Enlisted. It's one of the worst maps, but it isn't the worst. I don't even think it's the worst in Normandy. That definitely goes to Swamps, which I made a video on. But I think this map, it gets a lot of hate, but it also deservedly so. Anyways, I'm going to end this video here. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Leave your thoughts in the comments, what you guys think of this map. Is it your least favourite? Is it one of your least favourites? Do you like the map? Leave the comments below. Join the Discord if you haven't. I do some events. I do talk to the community a lot. And I'll see you guys in the next video.